from where did it all start? And like, if you can, please start with what exactly is channeling for those who do not know about it.
Yes, let me start with that. So, the best way I can describe channeling is when
Yeah,
someone writes a song, and I am a
yeah,
songwriter. So, when I
yeah,
write a song, I go into the non-physical and
yeah.
I listen for the song, and
Mm-hmm.
then I come back here and I've got my piano and my voice and I recreate it here. That's kind of what
Yeah,
musicians do, and that's channeling.
yeah.
And that's how I started using that ability, was through songwriting. Very young, at 5 years old, I climbed up on the piano and I was writing songs
Okay,
by the time I was 12, and I left high school and went right on the road as a singer, songwriter, and
okay,
performer. So that
okay.
was the opening door to then eventually
Uh-huh.
do, I think what your listeners might be curious about is then how do you go from singing
Yeah,
to Einstein?
yeah, correct.
And
There's a big gap. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So when I was in high school, I had a
yeah,
friend who had a mother who did channeling.
yeah, yeah.
We didn't call it channeling.
Mm-hmm.
She just, you have to come and see what my mother does. And her
Uh,
very serene mother would sit and close her eyes and light a candle, and there was a picture of Jesus, and she would talk
uh,
to us. And it was like she
okay,
was could see right into our soul. She was saying things that were like not about
okay,
what's going to happen tomorrow, but
okay,
about who we were and what we were going through. And
okay.
that was my first introduction to that kind of
Channeling.
channeling we're talking about, like mediums.
Okay. Okay. And what exactly was that person doing? Like she was channeling a particular entity or
She said she would close her eyes and it felt like
okay.
she went into outer space and
Okay.
listened for the words, and then
Okay.
she was an antenna picking
Okay.
up your higher power and then somehow bringing it back and articulating it to your human mind. That's how
Okay.
she
Got
described herself. So there wasn't anybody else.
okay. Okay. Got
It
it.
was more like an art, right?
Okay. Okay. So that was sort of your first introduction to this channeling and all metaphysics of it.
Yes. And I saw her maybe
Huh.
once a year for many, many years, and she would give me a reading and I would take
Hmm.
notes, and then I would write down at that time what I thought it meant.
Okay.
And then I would go live my life and
Okay.
see what it really meant. Like, what did it
Huh.
really mean? Not what you thought it
Mm-hmm.
meant, not what you heard. So that
Correct.
was a lot of my early training into slowly. Then when I started automatic writing one day, it was very spontaneous. I
Okay.
was writing a letter to someone and suddenly my hands felt like they were
Okay.
taken over, and
Huh.
they started saying something completely different, and of course much more loving and compassionate than I had been writing.
Huh.
And I knew what it was, see, because I, from all my singing and then the channeling, but I still
Hmm.
was taken aback, like what is this? And so I
Hmm.
asked, I was typing,
Hmm. Hmm.
who are you?
Hmm.
And they said, sound. I mean, I get it. I live
Hmm.
in the world of sound as a songwriter,
Yeah.
a young songwriter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was okay with me because I was going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
an antenna. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but what they
Uh,
wrote though was
okay.
so loving and compassionate about me, because I had a lot of
Okay.
conflicts and shame and dark stuff, and they reframed what was going on and made it really meaningful and kind of
Okay.
magical, and it kind of got me like, really, I saw myself in this whole new light.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
I would kind of like that a lot, to finally feel you know, like I'm taking care of my needs in some way. So
Correct.
yeah, I started to
Hmm.
do channeling for my friends.
So from there, your journey started, uh, like
Yes,
as a
that was
channel.
it.
But the way I understand it, the channeling is basically using our physical bodies as an instrument for something which is not physical, right? We are tuning into something outside of us, to which we do not have direct access to, whether it be a sort of intelligence of a higher dimension, or whether it be some people, channel those who are dead. So something which we do not have access to, but we get a temporary access to that, subtle entity. So that is channeling. But first of all, there are a lot of methods, and there are a lot of I think types of channeling. I'm not an expert on this. So can you please explain what exactly you do, and the method you use, and the outcomes of it?
Yes. So the method that I use was the one that my mentor did. I
Hmm.
close my eyes,
Hmm.
get out of the way. I
Hmm.
imagine that my ego,
Hmm.
which is going to keep
Coming
yakety
back.
yakking,
Hmm.
going, I shrink it down to this little like
Hmm.
manifestation of my ego, and I put it down in a little chair over here. And that leaves all
Hmm.
this space. And
Hmm.
then I listen, and
Hmm.
I can't tell you the mystery of
How it happens.
how how it tunes in. It's all electromagnetics, I'm
Hmm.
imagining, in
Yeah.
some level of more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I, if I were to show you
Hmm.
Einstein's unified field map, I could show
Yeah.
you where it was on the map. But we all
Okay.
have it. We just
Okay.
don't tune into it. It's like, the old radios,
Okay.
you dial the radio and it'd be
Yeah.
scratchy all the way until you got to the one where it's tuned to and you could hear it,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
move on. Well, that station is still there. So those dead
Huh.
people, that energy is still there. It's just being able to tune into
we
the
we don't have
frequency of it.
direct access to it. Like most of us don't have access to it because of our identification with our subtle bodies. So I study a lot of ancient Indian scriptures and Vedanta and texts like that. So they elaborately explain the nature of reality in a very scientific way. The way it is described in those scriptures is, first of all, we have a physical body with blood and bones, and then there is something called as the subtle body, which the Western teachings call as spirit or soul or something like that. And then there is called something called as the causal body, which is very deep. But when we speak about talking to the dead, we are basically making a temporary connection with that subtle body of those who have left their physical bodies. So I think that is what is happening. So when you said you were channeling sound, was that a higher dimension being? Like, what was it exactly?
When they said they were sound, I
Hmm.
felt my body relax and not question what that actually meant. It
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
seemed to me that, now you have to understand, I grew up
Hmm. Hmm.
channeling, right?
Hmm.
Music. So
Hmm.
I had this natural ability to go into the nothing and
Hmm.
listen and pull stuff out
Hmm.
and then articulate
Yeah.
it. So
Like
they
this
were
is when you
another
say you. Oh, just 1 minute. When you say
yeah,
you were channeling music, you mean intuition, right? Like what we call, or it something else? Like were
music.
you music,
I'm a
music?
com-
Yeah,
yeah, I'm a composer and a
yeah,
songwriter.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it.
Yeah,
So, are you calling your own intuitions as channeling, or was it? Did you physically feel like something was coming through you, or how do you
I
describe it?
I physically felt like I left my body and went into
Okay.
outer space.
Ha ha ha.
That's what it felt like, and I
Ha.
could hear like the first four bars of a song.
Okay.
Would you be my alpha? and I would come back and I would play, "Would you be my alpha?" And then like
Okay.
2 more bars would come out. And then I'd
Okay.
go back up and I'd listen. So that's the
Okay.
process I was doing just intuitively and naturally. Why, I don't know, I was
Okay.
gifted, I guess. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
But
Got it.
it's this,
No one taught this to you. This came to you. Okay.
yeah.
And this is, and the way you're describing it, it is not intuition, right? It is not your own self that is, well, like it felt to you like something outside of you was.
Well, it did, but first of
Hmm.
all, as I started that process, I was 13 and 14. So I don't know if I
Okay.
had a concept
Remember,
of
yeah. Yeah. Got it.
just so much being, I was still like
Hmm.
enamored of being in the process of it.
Hmm.
Right? I'm so young and I can do this, and out come these songs
Hmm.
that are
Hmm.
whatever. But as I
Hmm.
look back on it, I think it was
Hmm.
there was a great
Hmm.
depth of emotion from my
Hmm.
upbringing, which was abusive,
Hmm.
etc. And I
Okay.
need to get that out. I need to get that
Hmm.
emotion out of me so I could sing these songs and
Hmm.
get it, at least through my singing of it, I could get it out of me. But in the
Okay.
process,
Okay.
I learned this way to operate in the
Huh.
non-physical, we call it,
Ha
and
ha ha. But
intuitive,
huh.
I guess. You know,
Yeah.
I had a question for you too, but
Uh,
you go.
yeah. Yeah. When did it become your, your life's purpose for you to be this, right? Like, at what point did you decide this is going to be the rest of my life?
I had been channeling for 5 or 6 years, had
Mm-hmm.
clients, and I
Mm-hmm.
decided I wanted to channel for a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading Edgar Casey and
Yeah.
Jane
Uh-huh.
Roberts. What would they
Yeah.
say? What is this? You know? And
Mm-hmm.
people would come for readings on a regular basis, and we'd never talk about what they said. They just seemed to get something from the information, which was, I
Mm-hmm.
got it, I get it too from it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I never questioned. So in
Mm-hmm.
1993, I decided
Mm-hmm.
to pull together a group, and I found these women found me, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Kim and Teresa, and all of
Okay.
their friends showed up for
Okay.
readings just through referrals. And
Okay.
it dawned on me, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
here's the group. And it
Mm-hmm.
dawned on them at the same time, oh, we have this group. Maybe she'd come and have some wine and we could talk about all this stuff. And so I
Yeah.
did my first group channel in December of 1993. And that is
Okay.
really, I couldn't have told you. They told us, the
Huh.
voices who turned out to be
Huh.
angels told us
Okay.
that we have a mission. And the
Okay.
mission was world peace, one person at a time, starting with
Okay.
you.
Okay.
We are a bunch of angels, they said.
Huh.
And this was
Okay.
new because I was an antenna. But
Okay.
okay, whatever,
Huh.
let's listen.
Yeah.
They were going to
Yeah.
teach us this revolutionary way to
Okay.
resolve conflict that was also a
Okay.
pathway to global peace. And
Okay.
that they had this theory, but they needed human beings to test
Okay.
it on real
Okay.
life
Okay.
conflict.
If you liked the video, check out this next and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you and welcome to our community.